nobody in the media will call out the hypocrisy of the two unrivaled co-founders being on the WNBA PA committee in vice president roles while being about to benefit. Let's keep it real. About to benefit from all the chaos going on. They're benefiting from it now. They're benefiting from it now.
A recent piece by Annie Constable has drawn sharp criticism for failing to address what many consider a glaring ethical concern in women's basketball. The article discusses WNBA collective bargaining agreement discussions and the launch of Unrivaled, yet somehow manages to sidestep entirely the problematic dual roles held by key figures in both organizations. Multiple content creators, including Ben Daniels and CBS Sports Podcast, have repeatedly highlighted this issue, yet mainstream sports journalism continues to ignore it. The concern centers on Nafisa Collier and Breanna Stewart, who simultaneously serve as co-founders of Unrivaled while holding executive committee positions and vice presidential roles within the WNBA Players Association. This arrangement creates obvious complications, particularly as they stand to gain considerably from the current tumultuous situation surrounding league negotiations.
At a time when they should be worried about CBA negotiations, their games start January 5th. And look, no apologies needed if you didn't know that. I read this and was like, are you shitting me? You're not going to call them out on this at all. You're not going to bring this up. It's a professional basketball league.
The timing proves especially questionable. While collective bargaining discussions demand focused attention from player representatives, Unrivaled's inaugural games are scheduled for January 5th. This creates a situation where those leading player negotiations are simultaneously managing the launch of what many view as a rival professional basketball enterprise operating in the United States. The argument that Unrivaled operates on a different timeline or uses different game formats, 3-on-3 versus 5-on-5, fails to address the fundamental concern. Both leagues feature identical athletes, both carry injury risks, and both operate as professional basketball entities.
Not going to bring this up. It's a professional basketball league in the United States of America. Just like the WNBA, I don't give a rip that it's 3 months apart. I don't give a rip if it's 3x3 versus 5x5. It's the same players. There's a risk of injury. Come on. So let's just take a look at this hunk of crap that the sports media has vomited out for our consumption. The WNBA.
The article in question describes how WNBA collective bargaining discussions have continued for more than 12 months, beginning when players chose to exit their existing agreement last October rather than remaining under its terms through 2027. Players sought what they termed a transformational arrangement. As 2025 begins, women's basketball witnesses the emergence of this startup 3-on-3 venture. Established by individuals who hold leadership positions in the Players Association currently engaged in those very negotiations. Rather than questioning this arrangement, the coverage actually frames it positively, suggesting participants utilize their exposure in the new Miami-based competition advantageously. The piece proceeds to mention Unrivaled without any acknowledgement of the inherent complications created by having Player Association executives simultaneously operating what functions as an alternative professional league.
Consumption. The WNBA's year is ending with negotiations over a new collective bargaining agreement dominating the landscape. The talks have been going on for over a year. The WNBA players opted out of the CBA last October, seeking a, quote, transformational deal instead of staying in the old one through 2027. The new year, the 2025 calendar, is kicked off in the world of women's basketball with the debut of startup 3-on-3 league Unrivaled.
Two core principles reportedly guided Unrivaled's formation: substantial compensation and premium operational standards, both designed to rival what the established league provides. Unrivaled offers participants $220,000, compared to the WNBA's 2025 Supermax salary of $249,000. Collier herself acknowledged to media outlets that while league planning didn't revolve around negotiation timing, once they recognized the alignment, they viewed it as an optimal circumstance. Consider the implications. Individuals in player representation, leadership openly admit that operating another league concurrent with collective bargaining discussions presents a beneficial opportunity.
League Unrivaled in January, co-founded by WNBPA executive leaders Naphesia Collier and Brianna Stewart. At the time, negotiations have not taken off, but the players took full advantage of the exposure they were receiving while playing in the new league based in Miami. Unbelievable. I mean, somehow, some way, you actually...
These same people hold vice presidential positions meant to advocate for player interests in those negotiations. The situation gained additional complexity when Unrivaled became the setting for a controversial exchange between Collier and Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, a conversation that was initially private but later became public knowledge. Though Engelbert subsequently disputed making certain remarks attributed to her, this incident occurred mere days after the initial discussion, not months as some might assume. What makes this coverage particularly troubling is the complete absence of any critical examination.
I mean, somehow, some way, you actually put this as a positive. That could come out of your mouth, that the Unrivaled co-founded by WNBA executive leaders, and not a drip or drap of calling them out for the conflict of interest here. God, the media sucks. Two of Unrivaled's foundational principles were high salaries and elevated...
The article matter-of-factly states these individuals co-founded Unrivaled while serving as Player Association executive leaders without raising a single concern about potential complications, conflicts, or whether alternative representation might better serve player interests. The suggestion that those negotiating on behalf of players should perhaps not simultaneously own stakes in competing ventures apparently never surfaces. This pattern extends beyond a single publication. Major outlets including Front Office Sports and ESPN have maintained similar silence regarding this dynamic.
Operation, both rivaling what the WNBA was able to offer players. Unrivaled paid its players $220,000. The WNBA Supermax in 2025 was $249,000. Quote, "We didn't plan the league based on the CBA negotiation," Collier told the media at the time, "but when we saw that the timing was lined up, we said it was a perfect opportunity." Think about this. This is people in...
The issue receives virtually no mainstream attention despite its obvious significance to the integrity of negotiation processes. The defense of this arrangement suggests it somehow benefits women's basketball, but the opposite may be true. Allowing such obvious conflicts without accountability or discussion undermines professional standards and raises questions about governance structures. Behind closed doors, numerous players likely harbor concerns about having their negotiations led by individuals with ownership interests in alternative leagues.
This is people in leadership acknowledging that the start of another league and the playing in another league is good at the time that the CBA negotiations are going on. And their VPs. What wound up coming out later in the year was Unrivaled was also served as a backdrop for Collier and Kathy Engelbert.
Yet public dissent remains absent, partly because those who might raise objections face predictable backlash. Critics would immediately be accused of opposing women's basketball advancement, despite legitimate governance concerns having nothing to do with supporting or opposing the sport itself. The willingness to accept this situation without question actually diminishes credibility rather than strengthening it. When obvious conflicts go unaddressed by those covering the sport, it suggests either unwillingness or inability to apply standard journalistic scrutiny.
But yeah, like I like this. Man, I like this. I genuinely do. From anywhere. I have to admit, I like it. I like it. I think Nike in fairness, I think Nike probably did a poor job when it came to Caitlin Clark. Of, you know,
Professional sports leagues typically require clear separation between player representation and ownership interests in competing entities precisely to avoid these complications. The contrast between the thorough coverage given to other aspects of WNBA negotiations and the complete silence on this fundamental conflict remains striking. Articles detail salary discussions, schedule changes, and various other negotiation points with appropriate analysis, yet somehow this elephant in the room receives not even passing mention. Reading such coverage creates genuine confusion about whether the oversight is intentional or represents a failure to recognize the problem entirely.
came to Caitlin Clark, of, you know, of hyping her up realistically. I think Nike did a good job. Have done a good job since then. I do. I really do. I think Nike have done a fantastic job since then. And look, it's one of those things where the Caitlin Clark shoe is going to be announced very soon, which is good because
Either way, the silence speaks volumes about how women's basketball is covered differently than other professional sports, where such arrangements would immediately generate extensive scrutiny and commentary. The assumption seems to be that raising these concerns somehow opposes progress in women's basketball, when in reality, holding the sport to the same standards as other professional leagues demonstrates respect for its legitimacy and importance. Nike has unveiled promotional footage for Caitlin Clark's upcoming signature basketball footwear. The promotional material features appearances from several notable figures, including the Kelsey family members and Lisa Bluter, showcasing Clark's shooting ability from various distances on the court.
because, I was like, yesterday I released one video. And I'm like, man, this has been a complete dead period. It has been a complete dead period when it comes to Caitlin Clark Nike. And I cannot wait until Nike start actually selling Caitlin Clark merch in Europe. Because if you guys don't know, the customs and taxes is just not worth it right now.
The athletic brand's marketing approach for Clark has evolved considerably. While initial promotional efforts may have been underwhelming, recent campaigns have demonstrated significant improvement in highlighting the basketball star's brand presence. After an extended quiet period with minimal updates regarding Clark's Nike partnership, the announcement brings renewed attention to the collaboration. The signature footwear line is scheduled for retail availability during the spring season of 2026 as part of Clark's CC collection launch.
Worth it right now. To buy any of the Caitlin Clark logo stuff, and you better believe it. I promise you this. I have quite a decent chunk of money set aside for when Caitlin Clark merch actually starts selling in Europe. Because unfortunately you can only get it in America. That being said, the logo's cool. And I cannot wait for these shoes to come out. They're rumored to be coming.
International availability remains limited at present, with the merchandise currently exclusive to American markets. European fans face substantial import duties and taxation that make purchasing prohibitively expensive through current channels. Anticipation exists for expanded distribution that would make products accessible in European territories. According to social media reports from industry insider Nick DePaula, Clark expressed enthusiasm about the partnership, noting her pride in joining Nike's roster of elite athletes and sharing preliminary designs created through the collaborative process.
They're rumored to be coming soon. You can see here ahead of her 2K or 2026 CC collection launch, and it says here as well from Twitter account Nick DePaula, Caitlin Clark's anticipated signature is expected to launch spring of 2026. Nike signature roster features all-time greats, and I'm incredibly proud to join some of the best athletes in the world. I'm excited to share a first look at what we've created together.
Nike's recent history with women's basketball signature lines has yielded successful results. The Sabrina Ionescu collection achieved commercial success, while A'ja Wilson's signature model garnered positive reception for its aesthetic design. Wilson's footwear draws stylistic comparisons to classic athletic designs from the mid-2000s era, particularly reminiscent of the Mercurial Vapor football boots and Air Max Deluxe silhouettes that defined that period's sneaker culture. The upcoming Clark signature model generates considerable excitement regarding design direction.
These all-time greats, and I'm incredibly proud to join some of the best athletes in the world. I'm excited to share a first look at what we've created together. This is going to be announced soon. I mean it. It is going to be announced soon, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing what it is. And Nike have done really well. When it comes to their female basketball players, they've done real well. And they have done real well with their players. Like, they hit on the Sabrina Ionescu. And I don't care, like, whatever you want to say, whether you like or dislike A'ja Wilson, her...
Speculation exists about whether the footwear will feature low-top construction and what design elements might be incorporated. Nike's successful approach with the Sabrina line involved creating mesh-inspired variations that reference the Kobe 5 silhouette. Similar design philosophy could potentially inform Clark's signature model, perhaps incorporating distinctive patterns or textures while maintaining unique identity. This launch represents Nike's most significant new athlete signature footwear debut in considerable time.
Okay, like, whatever you want to say, whether you like or dislike A'ja Wilson, her shoes are so nice. Like, I don't really... They are... Her shoes, maybe because of when I grew up, and like where I grew up and when I grew up. I always as a kid wanted the Mercurial Vapors as football boots. Because I think Ronaldo wore them. So, and it looks like Air Max Deluxe as well. For me, the A'ja Wilson...
The magnitude of this release potentially rivals the brand's initial signature deal with Kevin Durant, marking a comparable milestone in Nike basketball's history. Durant's early signature shoes represented a major launch during that era, establishing a benchmark for athlete brand partnerships. The sneaker industry anticipates official announcements with detailed product information beyond current speculation circulating through social media channels. While specific release dates remain unconfirmed, promotional activity suggests imminent news regarding the signature line.
And it looks like Air Max Deluxe as well. For me, the A'ja Wilson shoe really reminds me of like the football boots that I really liked, really wanted as a kid. The Mercurial Vapors from like 2004, 2005. I think A'ja shoes really reminds me. And they also, I really did like the Air Max Deluxe, which kind of reminds me of the A'ja shoes as well. Either way, I really like the A'ja shoes, and there's been that hasn't been a secret. It has not been made a secret that I really
Nike's track record with basketball signature models remains strong across recent releases. The LeBron 23 series received favorable reception, and various other signature lines, including updated models across the roster, demonstrate the brand's continued innovation in performance basketball footwear design. The Clark signature shoe represents significant opportunity for Nike to capture market interest in women's basketball, capitalizing on Clark's extraordinary popularity and cultural impact on the sport. The collaboration positions both the athlete and brand to reach new audiences as women's basketball continues expanding its fan base and commercial viability.